close the store before they all close. They close at 10:30. Oh, I have no idea. I guess the stores are. They close at 10.
Hello.
I gotta get stuff for Sarah. Oh, I want to try because I got her the candle and I want to do it fast. Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm recording. So if for our weekly meetings, and I'll kind of gauge with you what times are good for you. I know you're in another class. You're just finishing Dr. Lindemann's class, right? And then when do you start Dr. Howell's class?
I think it's just in a couple days, the 28th,
Yeah,
I want to
in
say.
a couple days, yeah. So this class is really the one class that spans across a couple different courses. You're in the master's degree, we're usually engaged in our practicum at Big Island Elementary School, which is we run a summer school program. And the grad students are the teachers. It's a great experience, but of course the schools are closed, so we can't do that, unfortunately. But because I really like that experience. But we'll make it up somehow in the fall. I talked to the principal already. So, but the asynchronous, you can work at your own pace. A lot of online classes, you can work, for a week, and then the faculty member will open the next week, and then the next week. Every module, and you'll see there are 12 modules. Every module is open, and you may work at your own pace. And then we meet once a week. I record it. If you can't meet, the meeting will be recorded, and you can always schedule a one-on-one meeting with me if you have questions or you want to talk more about a particular subject, okay? So I can always schedule more Zoom meetings with you, all right? And please feel free to do that. We can also talk via email, and we can also talk over the phone. And I put my cell phone on the syllabi, I believe. My cell phone's posted on the syllabi. So you can contact me in email or by phone if you want to schedule another time to talk outside of our weekly sessions. So we'll have at least 5 weekly sessions. And sometimes if I notice that people seem to be confused about something, I will schedule an extra session, and I'll just post it to people. We're going to talk about working with students where English is a second language, right? Which probably Jackson is much more of an expert on that subject than I am. So that might be a very good conversation. I have not taught English ELL classes before. We did have, when I started the graduate program, we had 2 tracks. One was elementary and one was English language learners. And we had a master's degree for ELL. But then schools stopped requiring the license, a particular license to be able to teach ELL learners. And once that license went away, of course, nobody wanted to get a license in it. And now there's a test. You can take a Praxis 2 test in ELL. And if you pass it, then you're endorsed in ELL, okay? And that's another thing to remember, that once you have a base license, so when you finish this program or you finish any licensure program, once you have that base license, you may add another endorsement area by testing. So let's say you have an except elementary and special ed. Those cannot be added through testing because they're so specialized, right? But let's say I have an elementary license and I'm really good at history and I have a lot of history background. You can take the History Praxis 2. If you pass it, you will then be licensed in history and social science 6th through 12th grade. Okay, you can do music, dance. There's a lot of, as long as there's a Praxis 2 exam, you can take it. Like you could take the CTE, which is business, right? And be endorsed in that as well as your elementary license. Okay, so if you have an area of strength, you want to think about that. Always prep for those Praxis 2 exams because they're not easy. But if you prep for them, if you have area of strength, then you probably want to take it. It just makes you much more marketable, okay? I would say that the critical shortage areas these days are special education, science, mathematics. Elementary, for some reason, is on the critical shortage list. And sometimes English makes it on that list, but Virginia puts out a list of 10 critical shortage areas in the state where principals are looking for teachers. Special ed's always at the top. And I think it's because of the paperwork. A lot of people don't like to do the paperwork. Okay, so as you will notice, and I have the syllabi in front of me, what you want to do, and if it's not clear to you, please ask. On the Moodle page, before each assignment, you're going to notice it'll say 361/661. That means if you're in 361, you do the work. If you're in 661, you do the work. If it only says 661, that is for graduate students only. So there are more assignments, a little higher level thinking for the graduate students compared to the undergraduate students, okay? So you will see that there is a paper. The paper for the graduate students is longer, okay? For the graduate students, and I'll have to go look and make sure I have these directions. For the graduate students are not permitted to use secondary sources. You may only use primary sources. And by that, I mean a secondary source is if I have a textbook, right? So if I have an educational psychology textbook, and in that textbook, I read something about Piaget's theory. And I decide that I want to write a paper on Piaget's theory of constructivism, right? And so if I'm at the undergraduate level, I can cite that textbook. I can say, according to Piaget, as cited in Slavin 2018, right? But if I'm at the graduate level, I've got to go find Piaget's paper to be able to cite Piaget. That's what I mean by a secondary source versus a primary source. A primary source is the author. You have to cite the author themselves, him or herself. A secondary source, you can use another author that cited the original author. Is that clear to everybody? Okay, so undergrads, you may use secondary sources. Grad students, you have to go find the primary source, okay? Now, I believe either in Dr. Lindemann's or Dr. Howell's class, you received information about library sources, correct? And Lindsay, you have full access to the online resources at Randolph College.
Yeah, I need to know how to do that.
Okay. I'm going to make a note for you, Lindsay, and I'm going to send you the person's name to contact in the library.
Okay.
Okay. All right. And they will tell you how to do that because yes, you can access all the online resources in the library. The library is currently closed, so you can't get textbooks until, I don't think that Randolph is going to be open until August.
Wow, okay.
So we can't go to the library at all. I don't know about Shenandoah. Do you have access to Shenandoah?
Yeah, I live in Winchester and I have access to Shenandoah. I don't know if I can get, I think there's a way I can get books from that library. You know, if I make
yeah, if you have online resources, that should be fine.
Yeah, and I do. I have.
Okay.
And
Then
yeah.
you're going to be fine for this class.
Okay.
Right? So the papers are not, it's really basically for you to have an opportunity to delve into a subject that you're particularly interested in. Right? Whoops, I'm hitting my keyboard here. Okay, and I'll talk more about the paper as we get to that point. Now, the knowledge checks, or when it says read and take notes, I've had students do it different ways. A lot of students will tell me, I don't like to type my notes, I like to write them by hand. that is perfectly fine with me. You just write your notes. You can either scan them or just take a picture and load them into Moodle. If you have a problem loading anything into Moodle, just email it to me. There's not a lot of students I'll be able to keep track of things that you email me, okay? It's basically I just kind of look at your notes to make sure you're keeping up with the work, because the final exam is open note, open book, and I didn't have you buy any textbooks for this class. We use an open source book because I have a lot of, we hit on so many different areas, and all the areas that I hit on in this class are required by the Virginia Department of Education. So it seems like a lot. This is a survey course, right? So you're looking at a lot of different things pretty quickly, but those are required for this class to qualify people for the provisional license, okay? So it goes really quickly, and we don't really get to dig into things very deeply. It's kind of a surface level, just so you hear the concepts, you listen to the vocabulary, you have some kind of idea of all these different areas. It definitely does not prepare you, say, to teach students who are autistic, right? It doesn't really give you it gives you a little bit of background in the law, but at a very surface level, okay? So the students who are enrolled in the MAT program, you'll take an entire course on school law. And I would imagine being in a doctoral program, you will as well, take a school law class where you'll get much more in depth. But just so you know that, if you think things are just, I'm skimming the surface, that's exactly what I'm doing, because I have to meet the Virginia Department of Ed requirements for this class, okay? And that's why there's 12 modules. I think there's way too many modules, but I'm just hitting the ones that they kind of want me to make sure that are included, okay? It's a self-paced course, but I do check. So if I see that somebody's getting really far behind, I'm going to say, you know, you need to catch up on some of your assignments. I'll just contact you individually and kind of give you some prodding to get going on your reading and your notes and posting your notes, because when you get to that final exam, the exam period will close, and I will have it posted, because Randolph will close the exam period. So your exam has to be done by the date, unless you're going to ask for an incomplete extension, okay? But it shouldn't be a problem for you to keep up, even when you're taking another class, as long as you kind of just keep pace and keep going. The reading assignments are not that detailed. The videos tend to be short. There's a couple of long videos in there. One is called Sean's Story. It's a full-length documentary story about a little boy who has Down syndrome, and it kind of talks about what his parents went through. It's about inclusion, the full inclusion movement. But I think that's about the longest one. The others tend to be about anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes. So it's not, I tried to keep things short so that it's not too much screen time, because, and maybe many of you have, because some of you have been taking online classes since the college is closed, this screen time is really hard on your eyes. That's what I'm finding anyway. But so you do need some time away from the screen. But as we kind of go along in the class and you look at the modules, you know, just kind of keep up with them. And there are a lot of video clips on there. And when I do a PowerPoint, I just recorded a PowerPoint, and I thought it was really long. It was 38 minutes. But of course, it didn't record. It showed my face, but it showed the Randolph building, and it didn't download my PowerPoint, so I have to redo the whole thing. But I'm going to work on that tonight. But most of the time, my PowerPoint talks and the PowerPoints are text heavy, just so you have the notes. I'm not a PowerPoint person. I don't like PowerPoints, but it's a way to get the information to you. And I try to keep them anywhere between 15 and 40 minutes tops. I was surprised at the 38-minute one, but I told quite a few stories about some experiences I have had. And I guess I can backtrack a little. I never really introduced myself. I just jumped right into the class, but I have been teaching either in the public schools or at Randolph. I started at Randolph in 1993. And I was a teacher. This is going to date me. I was a teacher for 15 years before that. So I've been doing this a long time. So I taught, I got my undergraduate degree in Ohio, got my master's degree in Michigan, and I got my doctorate at UVA. I taught in New York State, I taught in Michigan, and I taught here in Virginia. So I taught for the Lynchburg City Schools before I started at Randolph, though I was part-time. I was at Lynchburg City, and then I came to Randolph on a sabbatical, which is very odd for the public schools. But Randolph needed a faculty member really quickly, and so they hired me, and they just kept renewing my contract, and I'm a full professor now at Randolph. So I don't know, Lindsay, was I at Randolph when you were there, or were you there earlier?
I graduated in 92.
Okay, so I came the year after you graduated. Yeah. I keep track of how long I've been at Randolph because my daughter was 5 months old when I started at Randolph. She has her doctorate in physical therapy. So I'm really old. But I love it. I love teaching at Randolph. And I love working in the schools. I do a lot of grant work with the schools. I have partnerships with the 21st Century Grant, both at Dunbar Middle School and Lincoln Middle. We have a partnership with Liberty High School in Bedford County. We have a partnership with Big Island Elementary School in Bedford County, Boonesboro Elementary School. We have a partnership with Jubilee Family Development Center, if you're familiar with Jubilee, in downtown Lynchburg, right off Florida Avenue. We do a lot of work with them. I do a lot of work, do a lot of research with the science faculty. So I'm an advocate for science education. I do a lot of research with Peter Sheldon, who's a faculty member in physics, and with Amanda Rumor, who is a faculty member in biology. We've published a paper on earthquakes in Science and Children, and we just submitted a paper on roller coasters in Science and Children, and hopefully that will come out probably in 9 months, hopefully. So I have my hand in a lot of different areas. I've been on sabbatical for a year, so this is my first class. After a year of sabbatical, I'm writing a book on working with students with dyslexia. I also do a lot of advocacy work with parents and children with specific learning disabilities, language-based learning disabilities, all over the United States. And that's pro bono work. I just work with parents who don't understand what's going on. I work with a lot of parents who live in poverty and need help advocating for their children. I was an expert witness in the first case that the 4th District Court in Virginia ruled in favor of the parents. That was very interesting. And the parent was asking for private school tuition for her son, who had a specific learning disability. So that kind of gives you an idea of my background. I kind of dabble in a lot of different things. And so far, any questions about, have you all had an opportunity to look at the syllabus? Yeah, any questions about the syllabus? You're gonna find much more detail on the Moodle page. All the assignments, the first year that I taught this class online, I dated everything on the syllabus. I took all that out. It got way too confusing. So I don't have deadlines on assignments. You'll notice that. That's where the self-pacing comes in. So if you don't get to an assignment, don't think of it as how you want to kind of gauge it. So there's 11 modules for the undergrads, 12 modules for the graduate students, and some of those modules have additional assignments for the grad students. If you can complete 2 modules a week, you're doing pretty well. Okay? And just take good notes for the final exam. The final exam will not be multiple choice. It will be short essay. And what I really like to do is I like to give little scenarios, like mini case studies. If you had a child and this is a child's profile, or this child is presenting with these problems in your classroom, what might you do? Okay, or if a parent came to you and asked you this question, what would you tell the parent? Or if you had to give a professional development talk to the teachers in your school about children with dyslexia or ADHD or emotional disabilities, what would you want to tell them? Put a PowerPoint together. Okay, so those are the kinds of things that I like to put on a final. It's not, you can't memorize special education, right? You have to really understand what's going on and kind of think from the lens of 3 lenses: the lens of the teacher, the lens of the child, and the lens of the parent. And that's really key in being successful in schools. You have to keep you have to have those 3 lenses, because if you lose one of those lenses, it's a struggle in school. Okay? Questions so far? No? I know most of you have had another class today, so I know you're a little weary. Is this time good? Would you like earlier? I can't go much later because I get really tired, because I'm usually working all day long. But is 9 o'clock good? Is it too late?
It's a little late for me, at least. I don't know how it is for everyone else.
Is
Maybe
8
like maybe like an hour earlier or something like that could be good. I'm not sure.
Earlier is better for me, but it's not bad.
How's it 8 o'clock for people? Thumbs up, thumbs down. 8
For me.
Taylor, how's that for you? 8 o'clock.
8 o'clock works better than 9 for sure.
Okay. All right. So next, well, I had this on Tuesday because Monday was a holiday. Let me look at my calendar. Oh, you know what's going to happen? This is really going to become complicated. I didn't think about this. I'm an adjudicator for the AP research papers, and which I usually don't have a problem with, because usually I'm in Salt Lake City, Utah, and we work from 8 until 5. But they just went online, and now they have us working 10 o'clock in the morning until 7 at night. Oh, that'll still work because I can do 8 o'clock. So that'll work. I can jump on at 8 after. Would you prefer Monday, or does Tuesday work okay for you? It does not matter to me. The day of the week does not matter to me.
It doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
So go with Tuesday. So next Tuesday at 8 o'clock, I will send everybody a Zoom link. And maybe if everybody could have at least the first module, if not most of the second module, then we can kind of talk about some of those concepts. And a good thing, things that you don't understand or you would like to discuss further with your peers and in this class, jot those questions down for our meetings, and then we can have a dialogue about some issues that you're reading about, either you find interesting or you find confusing or you've had experience with, right? Because a lot of you have had experiences that I have not had that can add to the learning profile of this class. All right? Okay, well, I know it's getting late. If there are no more questions,
I have something really
okay,
quick.
go
I
ahead.
don't think I got a link to the Moodle class.
Oh, you
Same with
do?
me. I don't have access to Moodle. I don't know
Yeah.
how to get to that.
Maybe
Sorry.
actually, let me check something really quick.
Okay,
Maybe I do.
can you get to the portal?
Yeah, that's where I'm going right now.
If you go to the portal and you click on student, to the right of student, there should be a list of classes you're enrolled in. And if you click on that class, that's the Moodle page.
Hold on.
Or let me open my Moodle and see what it says. Do you see your class listed?
I just got it.
Oh,
Yeah, I
good.
got access
I'm
to
in.
it. Yeah.
Okay, good. All
All
right,
good.
good. Okay. Everybody else access Moodle okay? All right, good, good. If you have any problems with Moodle, please let me know, because last summer we did have problems with Moodle. In fact, they took the entire page down. They took the entire site down in the middle of this class. So I had to contact IT and tell them, hey, I'm in the middle of the class, put Moodle back up. But don't, just please contact me if you have any problems with Moodle or the internet or any of those issues, because we can always go back to emailing assignments that way as well. Okay? All right. Well, I know you listened to me a lot tonight. Hopefully the next time we get together, I'll be able to listen to you and some of your ideas about what you're learning. And it was lovely talking with you this evening. Have a great rest of the week. Enjoy some of the assignments. Let me know if they work or do not work for you, because I change things up all the time based on student comments. All right?
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night. Take care.
Thank you. Good night.